Hey everybody, Jake here with TrendSpider to go over the weekend analysis into Monday, June 29th. And definitely a little different chart than last week, especially on SPY and even the Qs and XBI. And what I mean by that is a couple things. So last week we were kind of looking at this divergence that was forming on the weekly. I was looking pretty bearish here with this really strong candle down. But then we've got this elevator candle pretty much that follows right after last week. And the reason I say that is just because we went pretty much straight up from the open on Monday. And so definitely, buyers back in control. We've got this strong move up, strong move down, strong move up. And, we'll just see if we do test this resistance up here, which has acted as pretty strong resistance in the last couple years. Every time we've tested this area, there's been a pretty big move down. So, looking at the daily versus the weekly here, just looking at the daily raindrop, we do have some interesting stuff here as well. So we've got the candle here for Friday showing that volume definitely started to kind of flow to the upside of this price action into the close. And I mean into the close being the second half of the day. So we can see here the first half of the day had most of the volume profile near the low of this candle's day's price action. And then as we move to the upside, you can see this volume switching over. And then this volume is actually creating new highs here. And we know that because there's no volume profile on the left side. So we know this volume is what created this move to the upside here in the second half of the day. So all in all, to me, that's showing that buyers could be back in control into next week. However, we had a very similar candle here, literally almost the same exact type looking candle, and then we had a pullback the next day. So, this was in the middle of the week. This is at the end of the week. So, we'll just have to see if we do continue up. One of my favorite things to do with the platform, especially with the alert system, is literally just find a price channel. This is a little bit of an untraditional price channel here that I drew, but what I did was I put alerts on both sides of the channel. And I mean, you could technically, I guess, call this a very kind of minute ascending wedge of eventually these two things will cross at some point in the future. But all in all, it's a price range, right? So we're looking at this price action kind of going back and forth in between this area. So once we do break down below support or resistance, I will be alerted on the 10-minute candle. So that means anytime that the 10-minute candle closes in this purple area to the upside or the downside, I'll get an alert on my phone or email knowing that, okay, the price action is at support. Maybe it's time to buy, or maybe I think maybe it's going to break down. Everyone's going to have their own opinion there, and everyone's going to draw their trend lines differently, put their alerts differently. This is simply just how I personally am using the platform into next week. Just to mention a little more about that, I'm not licensed. I'm not, a broker advisor or anything like that. I am one of the founders of TrendSpider, just really wanting to show you guys how you can utilize this platform on a day-to-day basis, especially on the weekend, getting ready for the week ahead. So this is how I've kind of set up the chart for Monday into next week. Definitely looking for this MACD fast to continue up. Notice when we did start to break through this line previously in the past, we did start to melt up before literally taking out all of those gains and some a few weeks after that. So all in all, if we do melt up, I'm thinking at some point there's going to be even a stronger move down. But for me, I do have an alert here in case the fast does continue up through 6.25. So if I go to my alerts here and I go to SPY breakout, if I can find it, see if this is it. Yep, so I've got the this one right here. So this is potential MACD breakout. So if we go here, we can see I'm looking for the MACD fast to cross above 6.25. Then I'm also waiting for the RSI 25, the 25-week RSI to break through the constant value of 60. So once both of these happen, then I will be alerted and know, okay, maybe we're really starting to melt up here. Just kind of get an idea of what the chart looks like once these parameters are hit. So without doing any coding on the back end, these conditions have been created, and I'll be alerted when they both become true. So all in all, this is a very strong area to break going into next week on the weekly, and we'll just have to see if we find resistance here or we just blast right through. Um, the weekly MACD looks pretty strong here as well. So I mentioned, the fast is crossing up here, possibly the start of some type of melt up. However, the daily MACD, we're starting to see possibly a bullish cross here, and I actually do have another alert for this as well. So this is the MACD cross. If I go here, I'm just looking for the daily fast to cross up through the daily slow. So when that happens, or if it doesn't happen, I'll be alerted regardless. If the alert expires without going off, I'll be alerted. But if the alert goes off before expiration, I'll also be alerted. So my charts are all ready for SPY next week as far as the parameters that I personally look at. Everyone is going to have their own different parameters. Now going to QQQ, we've got some interesting stuff here, especially on the weekly. And this is just beautiful for me. What we have here, and let me just expand my chart a little bit. We've got this kind of double top that formed, right? So we've got this double top for literally we've got this kind of hanging man formation here, and then we've got a very similar candle here, which we had the double top back in late June, early July. Then we absolutely ripped right through this area, pulled back hard right down to this previous double top, and now we just elevated right back up straight up. So if we were looking at this very strong broadening range, it wouldn't be illogical to think, okay, are we going to continue up all the way to test this resistance area above since we've already broken through this area? That is a lot of upside. That's, what are we at? 195. This is around 220. That's 25 points on the Qs. That's quite a bit of action to the upside, but this is a pretty strong break to the upside, is at least on the weekly. Now on the daily raindrops, we do see something a little similar to SPY with this kind of untraditional. I would definitely say this is more of an ascending wedge than SPY, but both of them technically were kind of an ascending wedge. So we've got this interesting area here where we've got this gap down. This is where I started the trend line. Initially, this is support just because the line is below this this raindrop, but then we extend it to this resistance, and every time else it's been resistance here. Support has acted very strong multiple times on the downside, and so same thing, we can go in, create an alert at the drawing, and what I can do here is essentially create my triggers. I want to be alerted when there's a breakthrough touch or a bounce, and what I can do is choose the sensitivity. So for example, if I only want the blue raindrop, any raindrop, and who knows, maybe it will be a blue raindrop. That'd be pretty cool. We had one here, had a nice move down. But if we do test this area and we don't want to be alerted unless it tests this exact price area, this precise line, then we'll have no, the sensitivity is pretty much all the way to the left, meaning that we have to hit that exact price action. If we go to the right here, we will have a little margin of error. So you can see here the alert's now going to fire within about 33 cents of the selected line. That's fine for me. Let's make our sensitivity like that just in case we don't get exactly to that line above. And in this case, we'll do wedge resistance, expires in 14 days, create the alert. Now I have an alert on this resistance above, and we'll do the same thing for the support below. Let's do the same thing. Let's do, maybe in this case we'll do about the same thing, 33 cents from this line to the upside or the downside. So that's what this purple area shows, is just that margin of error. Same thing, wedge support, expires in 14 days, or if it's triggered one time, the alerts are set. Now I know, okay, whenever price action breaks through one of these areas, it's going to be a pretty big status quo changer, because we have been bouncing throughout this range now since we bottomed back in late June, and then really kind of started to form this action in mid June until today's date. So it's been bouncing back and forth within this range for quite some time. So when we do finally break through it, that will be something important to watch. I'm all set up into next week. Same thing, MACD looks interesting here, possibly a break to the upside if we have the fast cross the slow. I can easily go in, do the same thing here for the daily. In this case, MACD, QQQ cross, expires in 14 days. and the parameter is simply the condition. We're on the daily chart here. That's the indicator. MACD fast has crossed up through, and this same thing, indicator, daily, MACD slow. So whenever the fast or the blue crosses up through the slow, I'll be alerted. This expires in 14 days. Alerts created, and now I don't have to wait and look at the chart constantly trying to see when this is going to cross. The system's looking at it for me. It's my second set of eyes, and I move on to the next chart. So this is the Qs, looking interesting. Very strong candle here into next week, and we'll just have to see what happens. Last one we're going to take a look at is XBI. And XBI is interesting because this one has not necessarily participated with SPY and the Qs at all. We're nowhere near all-time highs here, and we actually broke down through this this kind of symmetrical triangle support here, and now into Friday, this has actually acted as resistance above, essentially kind of showing that we broke down, possibly retesting. Who knows? This could just be a big fake out. However, the MACD is looking pretty interesting here. It's slowly kind of creeping down. Notice how it didn't take a dive. It just is kind of slowly, gradually going down. Still above the zero line here. So it'll be interesting to see if this does start to creep to the upside. One thing that I'd maybe look for is when the fast is starting to start increasing or break to the upside. That may be something to watch. And I can easily do that on a multi-factor alert as well. All I would do is the MACD, instead of crossing above something, all I would have to do is the MACD has started increasing. And you can make that an alert very easily, and I'll go into that here in a second. But going on the longer term chart for the weekly, we can see here that this big, huge wedge or symmetrical triangle, whatever you like to call it, symmetrical wedge or symmetrical triangle, is still holding. So we've got a pretty strong doji here. We've had 3 weeks of downside, but notice how this downward action has slowly started to kind of lose momentum, kind of curling. So it'll be interesting to see if we hold this area and then break to the upside. So my big thing would be creating an alert on this horizontal level. Let's say that we want to have the alert fire within about 34 cents of the selected line. Same thing, breakthrough, touch, or a bounce. I want this to let me know whenever the 15-minute candle hits this purple area and closes within it. And we'll just do H1 resistance above. Have it expire in 14 days, or you can choose 30, up to you. This is personally just how I'm creating the chart. Create alert. And now if we did start to break up to the upside and really take out this above, I'll be alerted whenever that does happen. So all in all, just kind of getting ready for the week ahead as far as kind of what I'm looking at. Everyone is going to have different alerts that they create. Everyone's going to have different multi-factor alerts they create as well. So this is simply just showing you how any user can go in, create alerts where they'd like, back test wherever they'd like. If you find a specific candlestick that you like, you can easily go in, do a strategy tester. Let's say that you want to test any hammer on the chart. You go in. Let's say candlestick pattern, whatever you'd like. If we want to test a hammer, we can choose the number of exit conditions, and that is a length of time or an actual script, just like this. So if you wanted the script to be, a hammer is formed, and then you want the back test to end when the daily MACD fast crosses through the MACD slow, whatever you'd like, you put that in, and the system automatically does the manual back testing that you typically do. It does it all on the back end very quickly. So definitely try out the strategy tester. There's all types of things that you can do. I just did an example of the candlestick, but you could do this with a set of conditions, price action crossing a moving average, anything you'd like. So all in all, this is what I'm kind of looking at into next week, and this is how I'm setting up my charts. All of my alerts are set. Last alert that I did mention that I wanted to create was this MACD fast starting to increase. So I go here, multi-factor alert. Oops, I've already created too many alerts in my account. So I'll just delete one. So here we'll go to the multi-factor alert, and I want to do MACD increase, expires in 30 days. And this is essentially just me saying condition on the daily, the indicator, which is the MACD fast, has increased. So simple condition, all I'm looking for is when this blue line starts to increase, and then maybe I'll know maybe it's time to start looking at this again for momentum coming back into the picture. So the alert's created. Now I'll know when all of these different conditions happen on all of the charts that I went over, and we'll see what happens into next week. At the end of the day, no one knows what's going to happen into the week ahead. We have things that we can look at, such as technical analysis, different price levels, but nobody knows what's going to happen. It's all just using your resources the right way and kind of getting a big picture of what's going on multiple time frames and all that kind of stuff. So all in all, hope this helped you understand the TrendSpider platform a little better. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We do have a free trial as well, so if you'd like to test out the system before buying a subscription or anything like that, we have a 7-day trial and can extend that longer if you need more time. And we'd love to have you on the platform and see what your thoughts are on all the different features that we have to offer. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. And we will do these every weekend as we've been doing them. Generally, we do have webinars, so if there isn't a video on the weekend, we generally just do the analysis on the webinar with one of our partners that we have on. So make sure to watch for that as well. All of our webinars that we have coming up are posted on our website on TrendSpider. Just go to webinars and it has a whole schedule of all of them that are coming up. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us at hello@trendspider.com and we're happy to answer your questions. Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you so much for listening in, and hope TrendSpider gives you an edge in the market to erase some of those inefficiencies when doing technical analysis. Everyone have a great weekend, and thanks so much for listening in.